Hello. I am Rachel with Rachel Morgan Coaching, and today I have Colleen Florendo Svensson, who is the founder of Copy Tea, an up-and-coming copywriting studio currently based in Sweden. Colleen turned her hobby into a professional career. In fact, her written work has even been digitally published by Newsweek, and she has also completed the conversion copywriting course under Copy Hackers School. My apologies. Her fresh and modern writing style has caught the attention of a variety of online clients, mostly in the wellness and lifestyle niche, all of who were struggling to revamp their brand's voice. Her projects range from online sales pages, email sequences, copy for social media and websites to blog writing. So truly so many things. When she's not writing copy, you might find her cooking up a storm, enjoying a nice walk outside with her husband, or having a mini Taylor Swift concert in her shower, which I can definitely relate to, or pestering her cat with funny hats. So today we're going to talk about, should you allow your copy to sell for you or not, which is a huge topic I feel in this space. So I can't wait to have this conversation with her. All right. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I am so wonderful. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really good. It's actually my birthday today.
Oh my gosh, happy birthday. I wish
Thank you.
so extra special now that you are chatting with us. Oh my gosh. Happy.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here, honestly. Yeah.
Well, we are happy to have you too, truly. Well, I would love if you could kind of quickly share, like, where are you from? Tell us more about you.
Yeah, so my name is Colleen, and I'm actually based in Stockholm, but I'm originally from the Philippines. And I'm actually here now, taking a break from the winter. So yeah, I really don't enjoy cold weather. So yeah, I'm enjoying all like the sunlight and just, basking in it. So yeah.
I would too. I bet it is so cold in Stockholm now. And so, yes, I feel it. I would love to. So I'm with Well, I'm so excited to have this conversation with you because I feel like it comes up so often in the space. Like, oh, your copy should be selling in place of you. Your copy should be attracting your dream clients. Like, so I,
Mm-hmm.
as a copywriter, right? Like, I would
Mm-hmm.
love to hear your take on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So like, sure, copywriting basically plays a role in your sales strategy, right? But when my clients ask me like, what are your results? I'm like, yes, I have the results to show you, but you also have to have like a visibility strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Because like at the end of the day, if they're like, I've done like a really good sales page and sales sequence, but if they're not showing up on Instagram, they're not doing like a masterclass or a challenge, and they're just really banking on that. Like, how will these people discover the sales page in the first place, right? How will
Mm.
they get funneled into the email sequence? So yeah, which is why I reached out to you, and I was like, you know what? I think my audience need to know that although sales copy is crucial, it's
Right.
just like one part of it all. So yeah.
So what I'm hearing you say is that yes, your copy should be compelling. It should help you sell.
Mm-hmm.
So much
Mm-hmm.
goes into it besides just writing copy. You have to think of all the other things like behind the operations, the conversations you're having.
Yes, exactly.
Right. I can definitely, being that I am a sales coach and I've worked in sales, like I would say like allowing your copy to sell in place of you, very like allowing your product to sell for you. So like for
Mm-hmm.
instance, I worked in jewelry, right? If a customer
Mm-hmm.
came in and wanted to buy something, I could say, here's the product, right? Do you want it or not? Or
Yeah.
there's like a level of technique there in that conversation
Mm-hmm.
with you and the right. So we couldn't just let like our product sell for itself, which is like our content, right? Is kind of our product.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, sure, there are products that can sell for themselves, like Nike,
Sure.
but they still do the selling, right? They still do
Right.
the marketing, the promotions. It's not like, yay, we're established. Like they go silent for like forever. So yeah, and I mean, a lot of people, I think, forget that they need to show up. Like even I, as a copywriter, have to show up, which I don't really particularly enjoy. But it's just part of the whole, business owner life. Yeah.
So what do you mean? I produce it as a, what do you mean by like you have to still show up?
Like, post on Instagram, post on your stories,
Mhm.
or be visible in Facebook groups, like wherever your audience is, you have to continue showing up. Because I've had clients where they've launched a sales page, and it's like, and then they keep talking about other things on their Instagram stories. I'm like, dude, you're in launch period. Like, you have to keep focusing on that. And she keeps veering away from, like, yeah. So,
So what you mean is like when they're in a launch, they're not actually talking about it.
yeah,
Talking
yeah,
else but that because they're hoping
yes,
we'll see that and automatically be interested.
yes, yeah. And I just wanted to get your insight on that because I think that's such a huge, like, they're leaving table on the money. Money on the table. Oops.
Right. Yeah. I get like we don't always want to feel like we're bombarding people with like the same thing over and over again, like we're always selling. So sometimes you got to mix it up, right, with the conversation
Mm-hmm.
having. But studies show it takes about 7 times for someone to understand what you're doing. So if you're only posting about it once and never having
Mm-hmm.
a conversation about it again, how will they know that it exists? And like 10% of your audience sees what you post. So we think that like if we're posting all the time, they see it, but trust me, they don't. We're hit with a lot of information in this space, right? So like you
Mm-hmm.
said, bring up in stories, maybe email it out in a blog, in a post. Like there's so many different ways to keep talking about it, but keep it.
Yes, definitely. And I mean, it's the same, like, I guess, objection they have when it comes to copy. They're like, I don't want it to sound salesy, so
Mhm.
therefore they don't want to sell. But I mean, if you're a business owner, like, you have to sell. It doesn't have to be like bro marketing style, right? You could just, there's a way to do it right. I mean, you do it so well. So
Right.
yeah.
Right. And you have to sell. That's the reality. Like, if you are a business, you have to get really comfortable with it. Like, if you don't have paying clients, you just don't have a business, right? Like, it's really important to invest in that skill. And, I think, like any skill, like, it will always affect other parts of your life, right? Like, it
Mm-hmm.
can, or for copywriting, you're just a better writer, or you can better understand what you're reading. And there's so many aspects of that. So,
Yeah.
well, so another thing that you keep bringing up is like content strategy. So what do you believe is really important if we using our content to tell them? What
Yeah, so I think content is such a crucial part of, your launch strategy. Um, and I think, well, I don't post that often, maybe 3 times a week, not twice a week.
mm-hmm.
But when you're in launch period, I think you need to continually, educate your audience, because if you're bringing new people that are a bit coldish, right, you have to establish your authority at first. And if they can only see your older posts and it's not relevant to, your current launch, then it's going to be, useless, right? Yeah.
Right. Well, I remember I was in this master class and someone actually said, like, I'm so glad that you're posting. I had no idea that you had anything going on.
Mm-hmm.
This person was posting like every day. How did you not notice? But we're constantly getting followers. People are doing referrals. Like absolutely. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you like and just because you're talking about launches, is we don't want to tell people about it until launch day. We're afraid to do it from now, but you always want to give people the option about it, and usually they do. So it's actually better to tell people ahead of time and have those conversations and be like, "Hey, I'm about to launch this. I want you like know about this," in that pre-launch, right? To kind of
Yeah, I mean, you have
content,
to build that hype, right?
right? Right.
Yeah, that's so important also in copy, because, like, if you've, done all the copy and everything, but there's no hype, and like people aren't like, there's a warm up period basically. And I think that's something people forget, really. And for me, sales is like just an open door, like an opportunity for them to buy from you. It's not like I'm shoving it down their throat. It's not like, hey, you watch my story, you go buy from me. It's not like that. I mean, there are some people
Yeah.
like that, but you don't have to be one, right? So.
said, sales is an opportunity to buy from you. I love that. I'm
Yeah.
so okay. So what I'm hearing you say is that your copy should technically sell for you, but it shouldn't be the
Mm-hmm.
only sell.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
So if we want to write compelling copy, what would that look like?
Okay, so for me, compelling copy all boils down to your market research. So I know other copywriters are like, oh yeah, you have to follow this formula and blah 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 blah. Yeah, sure, there's a formula, but I think your market research is such a crucial part of sales copy that compels. And by market research, I mean the voice of customer that you actually gather. I think we touched on this a bit in the DMs, and I was like, um, you know what? Us copywriters don't make up, words out of thin air, right? They're actually based on actual, language that the audience use to talk about their fears, their pains, and goals. So some people think that, we should use, like, we have to be witty all the time, witty, cute.
Mm-hmm.
But what you have to do is, use the actual language they're using instead of like pretending you know what they're thinking or what they're saying, right? Use the actual language. So that for me is the key to compelling copy.
Yeah, that's such a good point. All definitely want to. I know. I feel like I have to write really compelling or witty or attention grabbing copy all the time. So that feeling can almost hold me back from writing. Okay, this is like to my standard, right? So I know that this is a little bit off topic, but still really relevant. You
Mm-hmm.
talk about market research, and I think people understand that they need to do it, but don't
Mm-hmm.
always know how best to find that link or how to really get the best. How do you recommend doing market research for your copy?
Yeah, so definitely, I think my first step would be for people to ditch the avatar. I think it's such an
Okay.
overrated tool because I mean I've said this before in my I think one of my posts that you can't expect your audience to feel seen or heard through a made up avatar, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
So I would probably gather data from Facebook groups, like wherever your audience is. Or I think a tip that we both use is, to look through Amazon books. Find
Mm-hmm.
a book that's relevant to your offer and look through the comments. I would go through the fours and the threes, I think, in terms of maybe pain points and objections. And then for the ultimate transformation, I would check the fives. So that's where I gather most of my data. And I have a swipe probably bank of it's arranged based on what they are. So that way when I'm creating content, I'm just oh, okay, there's an objection. I'll use that today. So it makes
Right.
it easier instead of people overthinking their brand pillars or whatever. So yeah, it's just much easier and it connects better. So yeah.
Wow, that was just so much gold right there. So if you're listening, wow, what a treat. Yeah, Stephanie, absolutely. That was so brilliant. I'm like, wow, go to the 5 star in exact verbiage, right? Reason just for their like what were they hoping to get out of this that they didn't get? I know I've done that myself. It's like mind blowing. It tells you everything you need to know. Like you'll have content for days.
Yes, exactly. Instead of trying to making up stuff and figuring out what to talk about, they're already telling you. Just
They
have to
are.
find it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that you said that so much. And so I would say, like, I don't know if you've ever heard of it too, but I looked at Udemy, which is a course platform, and you can see like what courses are being how popular and did the right?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a good place to look as well. I mean, you know what? There's a lot of people that share online. I think people
Mm-hmm.
love sharing. So I mean, you might as well take advantage of that. I think we're so used to doing interviews and surveys, but that's such a small, I guess, size for gathering data, and sometimes people are not as upfront when they're talking to you,
Yes, absolutely.
right?
That's
And when
exactly.
they're
Nope.
yeah, and when
I
there's
agree.
no one watching, they're just typing away and they have some username, right? So
Yes,
yeah.
yes. I agree with that. I think you get more genuine responses when you actually read what people write because it is like other people are going to actually look at it, and so they're a little more honest. But when you're like straight up asking someone, I think sometimes they're on the spot and they don't think clearly, right? So you're not getting the response you want. And if it's a survey, it's really hard to follow up. Be like, okay, wait, tell me more about that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and there are, gift card hunters out there. I mean, it's just a fact, right? If you're doing a survey, you would most likely offer like a Starbucks gift card, an Amazon gift card, and they're there for the gift card. It's just, yeah.
Right. Oh, Stephanie, she said, I'm walking in the freezing cold in New York City, but y'all are blowing my mind and making this bearable.
Oh my God, I love that. Keep warm.
I know. Yes, I know. You're in the heat right now, so you're enjoying all the heat for us.
Yeah.
No, I love that. I love that to really write like copy that sells in place of you if you're wanting that, to really like hone in on your market research, which I know is something you're personally really passionate about, and you've created this amazing product. But we'll get to that. But really, the way that you just said, like, here's how you really get that data. I don't think a lot of us like think about that or know how to do that. I like I have been told to just ask people, right? But the conversation of what else you can be doing, the observations and looking at comments, like, just isn't there.
Mm-hmm.
So important because you're right. Like, people want to read something and be like, wow, that sounds like me. Look
Mm-hmm.
at me. The only way to do that is, I love it.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same way as, when you figure out if you're going to be friends with someone, right? If they talk the same way as you, you're most likely going to vibe with them more. But if they're talking at a different level, like, I don't like jargon at all. So, yeah.
Right. So I would love to go back to the flip side of this. So you kind of were like, well, your copy should sell in place of you, except, right? When you're doing, and I know that you had brought up a lot like launches and master classes as a way to sell. So I would love like,
Oh my God, I think I kind of lost you for a bit. Sorry.
oh,
What was that? Yeah.
sorry, thank you for telling me. So one thing that, the flip side of the conversation, right, is like, well, maybe your copy doesn't sell quite in place of you. And I know that you have brought up like master classes, launches, and how to kind of prepare for them through your copy so that you do well. So I'd love like a little bit more of your thoughts on master class.
Yeah, so I think, I've been to a bunch. Okay, when I started my business, it was like, okay, I'm gonna try to consume as much free stuff. And I noticed there are a lot of like, for the lack of a better word, like a bunch of BS masterclasses out there where they're not actually providing any value. It's just, yeah, this is how I did it, blah, 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 and pitch. Like, I think, just like anything you provide online, whether it's your Instagram stories or your posts, they should provide like a mini transformation.
Mm.
Because you're giving them a taste. It's like a sneak peek to your sales page, basically. So if you wanted to read the sales page, like your masterclass or like challenge has to be fucking good, right? So yeah.
I love it. Yeah, I never like thought of it that way as like being a precursor to like a sales page or to get them. I know like I've been in master classes and we talked about this where it's like, wait, what did I actually learn? Like there's like this hype, like I'm gonna teach you how to do all these things. So it's really clever copy. Like, wait a second, what did I learn?
Mhm. Yeah, totally. So I think that's really important that you actually provide value because I think a lot of people hold back on providing value because they're like, oh no, maybe I'm giving too much or whatever.
Mm.
But they should feel like, oh my God, if this free stuff is super like good, what more her paid stuff? I
Mm.
think that's the mindset we should have when we're thinking of like webinars or challenges or whatever. So yeah.
Right. So, okay, just to kind of recap what I'm hearing you say is your copy should do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. And the way that you can do that is through market research by looking up reviews and using the star system, right? And so that you understand what people's transformation wants to be, what they're having, and what your pain points are. Kind of sparks the interest to want more. And so then when we are doing launches or master classes, by the time they get that, they're all interested and we're providing value so that they can see what you're worth and then hopefully potentially want to work with you later on. But it shouldn't be a giant sales pitch when we're doing a masterclass either, because we want to provide value, correct?
Yes, definitely. And I mean, that's the misconception with selling. I think I had that misconception in selling. It's just like, hey, I'm watching this, buy this, buy this. But selling is, I don't know. You're the sales coach. Maybe you could enlighten us on that. So yeah.
So like, well, yeah, I think that sales is really just a communication. It's learning how to talk to people. Listening is really important, right? I mean, if someone's in front of you, you're not going to the best sell is to start asking questions and be curious. And I mean, that's where market research comes in. They tell you things, you're using their words right back at them, right? And not in a manipulative way, but sometimes you're like, okay, I hear you saying this. Like, I know you've heard me say that a few times already. So to make sure that I'm understanding that I'm processing it and talk about that, right?
Yeah.
So it makes sense what you're saying, like copy, how that would be the same.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's just a good insight. And there's such a like huge misconception around sales and even copywriting. Now people are like, oh, it's manipulative and everything. But I think we all have to remember like all these strategies are rooted in human behavior, right? So it's based on like patterns that people have shown and not like some made up shit that, are people are using to manipulate people, right? So
Right. Oh, absolutely. Sales should not be sleazy or manipulative. I definitely don't come from that. It's really just, everyone says serving, but to really know, like, you are in business to help a client. Like, that's why you started, right?
yeah.
So, you know, that in the mindset, why you're writing copy the way that like, you are there to help someone. And so you have to do that in the way that you write it and talk about it. And that selling aspect, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, copywriting is basically sales copy. So it is sales too. So like,
Of
I
course.
mean, it's all part of a complete sales strategy and everything. And I think which I want to bring up is that, when you're planning a launch, maybe think about like the things you need to invest in like ahead instead of like, oh, I just need copy. Maybe you need like a sales coach to help you throughout the launch for just that period, right? So yeah, I think those are the things you need to like think about, and also like a designer. I've had clients where I've done the copy for them, but they didn't have a designer to do their sales page. So like, it was a mess. I had to help them with design, which I'm not good at. So yeah.
Right. I know, like, I just finished working with a client myself. She was about to do a launch, and we're like, okay, well, what do you need in order to do that launch? Like, you can't just simply be like, hey, I'm doing this thing and hope everyone comes. It's like the same thing, like, being that I worked in fine jewelry in person, it'd be the same thing as opening the doors at 10 a.m. and be like, we're open for the day, come on in. Like, it's just, some people trickle in, but there's so much more that you have to do, right? So we would like strategize, like, well, okay, well, what do you need? What does this look like? How are you going to post? What do you need for those posts? Your email. How are you going to find those people? Like, what skill sets do we need to think about here? Like, it's really helpful to make a checklist when you're doing a launch. Like, copy is so important. You're going to use it all across, right? You're going to use it in your posts. You're going to use emails on your website and your blogs. Even right can be really important. That's what copy actually sells for you, right? When you're like sending a text or an email and you're like, hey, so yeah, no, I love that. Well, okay, so Colleen, is there anything else you have to say? Copy reselling or not?
I think, yeah, just go back to the drawing board. If you've done the avatar, I say ditch it. Spend time listening to your audience. And just, think of them, instead of thinking of them as like dollar signs, think of them as people with problems and needs and how you fit into that like equation. Yeah.
Right. Oh my gosh, I have to ask you one more thing that I totally just thought about that I would love you. I know a lot of times that, it's not even just market research, or the words to say. Sometimes it's like structure posts. How do you best recommend that?
How to structure a post?
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yes.
So I would normally go for the hook, which means you want to reel them in, right? And usually when you're scrolling through Instagram, there's like a few words, maybe 6 words that will show up. So that should like, bring them in and then make them want to read the next part, which is the body. And usually my body is like composed of um, building up the story and then sharing a bit more about my experience. And then I go to a conclusion after, or maybe I share a bit of like pointers first, and then it ends up with me in a conclusion and then a CTA. A CTA is super important, guys. I know like some of you don't like it, but people need to be guided, right? Just the same with cars. You need stop signs, where to go. And it's the same with posts. Like if you don't ask them to, they won't give it. Yeah.
I love the comparison to stop sign. It's so good. I will say, okay, relating back to sales here, if we're thinking about how our copy sells for us, right? Um, Oftentimes when the conversation, asking questions back and numbers, but storytelling is really important, like, especially when I'm telling a story. Tell the story of how the piece was made, the folklore around stones, and ask some questions in that way. I mean, it's the same thing, right? You're talking about storytelling and why you're making that point. And so that's a sales technique, right? And it's almost like asking for the sale at the end with the CTA, right? Is like you're telling them what to do next. Like you're leading them that way. And it is true. A lot of people really don't know what to do. Like you have to tell them, like, we think it's really obvious, but they don't know what the next step is. And a lot of people don't even know you have offers. I mean, I can say that. Like I've looked at accounts and I'm like, I literally don't know what they do.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? I think when doing like content, and you feel like, okay, I don't want to pitch to them if I feel so bad about it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as long as you're providing value first before you pitch, then it's totally okay. It's like you earned the right to pitch. That for me is the thing. That's why I'm comfortable like adding a pitch at the end, because I shifted to that mindset instead of like talking about your offers all the time, right? Then it's like, it, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I have learned so much from you today. I love
I
it.
learned so much from you.
Oh, love it. We always have such great conversations. Well, Clean, I would love it. Like, how can people work with you if they want to know more? Because you are truly an amazing copywriter, and I'm telling everyone now that's listening, like, she is amazing. If you want a fabulous copywriter, reach out to Colleen. I'm always blown away. How
Thank
can they work?
you. Yeah, so I'll actually be announcing my revamped product suite tomorrow. So if you want to know more about that, please follow me at the Copy Tea. And yeah, if you guys need someone to help you throughout launch or know how to sell more, I think Rachel is the best person for that. Like we've super jived through the DMs and got to know each other, and this is why we have the live now. So yeah.
Oh, you're so sweet. I appreciate that. I am so excited for tomorrow. And um, I know if you guys even just need help with like your website copy, Colleen does a lot of that. So, but definitely reach out to her. And if you are still listening, we 100% appreciate you. And please reach out to Colleen. Happy birthday.
Thank
So,
you guys. It was
of
so
course,
fun.
thank you so much for joining me. And this was such a I feel so lucky to have you here. And I feel like I so much. And everyone else that's watching, I hope that you feel the same. So thank you.
Thank you too. You did, carried the conversation so well. I was like, Rachel, you lead.
But no, thank you, thank you, thank you. And we'll chat with everyone soon. Bye.